Titanfall. Respawn Entertainment's first-person shooter franchise that arguably shaped most of the current-day FPS scene as we know it. The franchise has been almost universally associated with its multiplayer, though this is only 50% of the experience, as the series actually contains a rich lore, a universe of collective stories and characters, with incredible intrigue and infinite potential. Though the brunt of the story has not been widely detailed through the direct campaigns of both Titanfall 1 and 2, it is in fact there. If you look closely and listen carefully, Titanfall's universe really begins to shine. In today's video, we will be breaking down the history behind Titanfall's infamous antagonistic organization known as the IMC. Welcome to the Advocate Network. The Interstellar Manufacturing Corporation is one of the two primary factions in the Titanfall universe. The IMC is a megacorporation, offering a wide variety of services to the civilians who live under it, including manufacturing, shipping, terraforming, astronavigation data, and innumerable other industries. Founded by the mysterious Dr. Hammond over a century ago, the IMC began its life as Hammond Engineering, a small startup focusing on natural resources extraction. 15 years later, the company exploded in growth, thanks to increasing demand for its Titans and their manufacturing materials, as well as planetary survey technology and rights to astronavigation maps. Throughout the next century, rebrandings, mergers, and acquisitions led Hammond Engineering to being transformed into the commercial empire that is the IMC. With the discovery of faster-than-light travel, the IMC were quick to begin exploiting the fledgling region of habitable worlds that would later become known as the Frontier. They funded the initial colonization and expeditions to the Frontier from the core systems, those being the Solar System and those in relatively close proximity. However, they soon withdrew for unknown reasons, providing practically zero support for the fledgling colonists and their descendants. Decades later, the IMC emerged once again to lay claim to the Frontier. Occupying many dozens of planets, they soon became known for their brutal and exploitative practices. If the IMC wanted land, they would take it, no matter who was living on it. This could be through bribery, or through the legal applications of force, but either way, the IMC gets what it wants. While we don't know what precisely caused the IMC to withdraw funding from the Frontier, it is possible to speculate. The core worlds, even at the time the games are set, still run on natural sources of energy, oil and gas, alongside nuclear fission and renewable sources. Unlike many other science fiction franchises, it seems as though the scientists of the Titanfall universe were never able to create a nuclear fusion reactor capable of outputting more energy than what was put in. With this in mind, the IMC's position becomes more understandable. Space travel is expensive and energy intensive, therefore the IMC could have simply judged the Frontier as not worth the expenses required to colonize it, and only returned when resource shortages on Earth and other worlds became scarce enough that the Frontier was deemed profitable. None of this has been confirmed, but the theory isn't too far-fetched. Regardless of why, when the IMC returned, they were very quick to begin resource extraction at locations such as Site M41 on the planet Victor and on the planet Eden, using hydraulic fracking to extract natural gases from deep beneath the ground. The consequences of this kind of extraction can be seen in the devastation found within the multiplayer maps Fracture and Eden, with entire cities being destroyed if the IMC judges it necessary to secure the resources within. The IMC have little care for a planet's ecology either, having conducted numerous experiments involving the transplanting of live specimen from one planet to another. Even Angel City, one of the largest cities on the frontier, wasn't spared from the IMC, with the area being placed under martial law and divided into districts to keep the population under control. Other accounts from the bios of the characters Sarah Briggs and Jack Cooper show the IMC having no qualms with killing those who try to resist this endless quest for resources, leading to a great many people having severe, yet understandable grievances against the corporation. This all amounted to armed conflict between the IMC and the Frontier Militia. The earliest recorded engagement of the two is referred to as the Titan Wars, and was possibly the first major usage of the Titan platform in actual warfare. Although details are scarce about the Titan Wars, it's likely that the IMC were the victors, and were successful in putting down the insurrection. These wars were 20 years before the events of the first Titanfall, and 25 years before the events of Titanfall 2. For the next 20 years after the Titan Wars, the IMC's colonial navy, led by Commander-in-Chief of the Frontier, or otherwise known as Syncfront, Vice Admiral Marcus Graves, would continue to pursue and hunt down the remaining militia elements, particularly the Marauder Corps' First Fleet. This would lead to the militia staging a daring raid on the aforementioned Site-41, leading to heavy casualties, but many vessels surviving the engagement. This operation would be referred to as Fracture. What would follow is a series of events that really deserve their own video, involving the IMC testing their new Spectres, and a massacre of the colony G-21 on the planet Troy, the destruction of the IMC flagship the IMS Sentinel, and one final engagement at the refueling and refinery planet Demeter, what is essentially the IMC's intergalactic fuel station that allows them to reach the frontier. If Demeter were to be destroyed, and spoiler alert, it got destroyed, IMC reinforcements would be at least 2 years away. The battle at Demeter would involve a third of the IMC's total naval capacity on the frontier, but would result in a militia victory and the stranding of the remaining IMC. The remainder of the IMC on the frontier became known as the Remnant Fleet. Over the next few months, mass amounts of IMC human personnel, including the Vice Admiral himself, would defect to the militia, reducing the corporation's available manpower and causing them an ever-increasing reliance on their automated infantry, such as the Spectre, Stalker, and Reaper. Over the next 5 years, the IMC, under the guidance of Vice Admiral Spyglass, an AI with vast computational abilities, would continue to fight back against the militia. Spyglass would set up a fleet operations base on a planet that has thus far remained unnamed, setting up reservoirs, conducting multi-pilot simulations for training, and uncovering alien ruins in the swamps. The IMC would also reactivate multiple old and abandoned installations, like the Zone 18 Spectre production plant and the Sandtrap fuel reserves, to supply their fleet. Alongside this, they would attack militia worlds like Harmony and Haven, in a bid to secure resources for the war effort. The IMC would also commission General Martyr and his Archaeological Research Division, Ares Division, to uncover the site of an ancient alien structure on the planet Typhon. The technologies uncovered here would bring many advanced weapons and abilities to the IMC arsenal, but perhaps most importantly, the ability to destroy an entire planet. When the militia's 9th Fleet arrives on Typhon, they were already able to observe the effects of this devastating fold weapon on Typhon's moon. However, throughout the hours following the initial assault on the planet, the militia would learn of Martyr's plot to utterly destroy Harmony, and any other worlds that tried to resist their rule. Through the efforts of the pilot Jack Cooper and his Titan BT-7274, the militia were able to destroy the fold weapon, also destroying Typhon in the process. The IMC Remnant Fleet is still fighting the militia, even after the events surrounding the fold weapon in Titanfall 2. The IMC are ruthless and mechanical in their endeavors. To them, the needs and demands of the core worlds and the IMC shareholders are the primary driving goal, and their demands are placed far above those of the militia. They use any means at their disposal to get what they need, including their vast military. This about concludes the history of the IMC. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to show support through subscribing and leaving feedback in the comment section below. We are always looking to make our content as helpful and as enjoyable as possible here at the Advocate Network.
Quit your whining and kill somebody, eh? I'm gonna kill you if you don't back off, wanker!